Hi, Cherie Fogarty here, founder of Creating My Best Life and Habit Gratitude for Kids, where we show you how to get happier and more grateful children and be happier and more grateful yourself. And I have a question for you. How would your children answer or complete this sentence? Mistakes and failures are? How would you complete that sentence? Mistakes and failures are. Well, I'll tell you what my kids would say. If I said mistakes and failures are, they'd say learning opportunities and the chance to do better the next time. So where did they come up with that? Well, I've been teaching it to them. It's one of the best life lessons I've taught them since they could talk. And it's something that has really helped them in their lives. And it's something that I want to teach you how to teach your children today and to remember yourself. So why is this important? These days, kids seem more stressed, more overwhelmed than ever before. There are so many more pressures on them and a lot of pressure they put on themselves, in large part because they're afraid of making mistakes, because they're afraid of failing. Listen, nobody likes to fail or make mistakes. It's human nature. Nobody likes it. I hate to make mistakes and feel like a failure, but I don't anymore because of these lessons I've learned. And that's what I want to share with you today. So if you ask any successful person for time eternal throughout history, if they've made a lot of mistakes and failures, they would say absolutely. They would tell you they've made more than anyone else, but you know what they would also tell you? They would tell you that they have learned far more from the mistakes and failures that they made than they ever did from their successes. And in fact, that those failures and mistakes that they made over and over again were what propelled them to their ultimate success. Because here's the thing, you can't be successful in whatever it is and however you define it if you don't take risks, if you don't take chances, if you don't try new things, all of which you or your children will be afraid to do if you're afraid of failing, afraid of not being perfect, afraid of making mistakes. So there's a lot more to it than this. Entire books have been written on it, but what I want to do today is give you 2 easy strategies to start using today to start shaping their thoughts, words, changing your mindset and theirs so that they'll finish the sentence eventually. Mistakes and failures are opportunities to learn more, to learn and to do better the next time. So how are we going to do that? Okay, the first strategy is this. Every time in the next week, 2 weeks, forever, that your children make a mistake, they spill the milk, whatever it may be, forget to do their homework, and get a bad grade on a test. Whatever it is that they do, you stop, and instead of getting angry or whatever your usual response is, you say to them, you made a mistake. Okay, here's what we do when we make a mistake. We apologize if it's appropriate, if it's something that was intentional, you apologize, you make amends, you make it better, and then what did you learn from this so that you'll do better next time? There's a story Jack Canfield has told for years in various places and books about a very famous scientist who attributes his success as a scientist in large part from an incident that happened when he was very young with his mother. He spilled milk on the floor, and all over the floor apparently. And instead of his mom yelling and getting angry and, making him feel badly for doing it, she said, "Oh, look at this. Look at how the milk spread, look at the patterns," and they studied and analyzed it for a little while, and then she said, "Okay, let's clean it up now." And he says that that one incident at a young point in his life changed his life, gave him the freedom to fail, gave him the freedom to become the scientist that he did because he wasn't afraid to fail. He wasn't afraid to make a mistake. He knew from a very young age it wasn't the end of the world and it was okay to make mistakes and that we all make mistakes. So isn't that a gift we'd love to give our children? So whether it's when they're very young and the tower falls down and you know that look that they get when they're about to just burst into tears because the tower they've worked on, their very first tower, fell down. You have a choice as a parent. You have a choice. You can either let them cry and hug them and tell them it's okay, or you can do what I did with all of my kids, and you can clap and you can cheer and you can say, "Yay, look at that. You made a great tower and it fell down. Isn't it great? We get to build it again." And not everybody agrees with that, but I will tell you it has worked time and time again for my children. And in fact, when my youngest, who's actually 4, I have 4 children, who's very sensitive, when she built her first tower and it fell down and her sisters, she has 3 older sisters and they were all around, The best thing ever that could have happened was even before I started clapping, cheering for her as she was about to burst into tears, her sister started clapping and cheering for her and said, "That's okay, isn't that great?" And then Alex, who was maybe, I don't know, a year at the time and could barely talk, you know, her sisters talked her through how she could maybe build the tower a little differently and worked with her on it. And it was just such an amazing moment because they'd learned that lesson. But you still have to keep learning the lesson because towers are one thing, you know, failing a test in school or not doing well is another. And so these strategies are super important to learn. They're really important to teach our children now so that they won't be afraid as they get older to make mistakes. So over the next few weeks, whether you have a teenager or whether you have a 2-year-old, when they make a mistake, ask them what they learned from it or how they can do better the next time. And if it's something that's intentional or something that they need to apologize for, those are the steps. You apologize if appropriate, you make amends, you clean up the spilled milk, and you ask the question, how can you do better next time? What did you learn from that? Now, I'm not saying that in that moment, your teenager or your 2-year-old for that matter is going to want to listen to that and maybe they can't come up with anything that they learned. Wait a little while. Ask them again. And do this every time they make a mistake or they have a perceived failure in school or in sports or whatever. Do it time and time again until they can answer the question, what did you learn from that? And that they finish the sentence, mistakes and failures are learning opportunities and chances to do better the next time. So that's just one quick tip. The second one is, once you've shifted your mindset, because you want your thoughts, words, and actions to be in line. So when you've helped your children shift their thinking with regard to mistakes and failures and their words so that they don't look at them as a terrible thing to be afraid of, but something that they can learn from, that's okay because they know everybody makes mistakes. Once they've changed their mindset, you can go even further. And since we tie everything into gratitude, you can actually be grateful for those mistakes. Doesn't mean you have to love those mistakes or embrace them. It doesn't even have to mean, it's just like when I had breast cancer. I didn't love having breast cancer. In fact, it was a pretty miserable experience. But I am eternally grateful for having had the experience because it changed my life. Truly changed my life, and I am 1,000 times happier because of it. So I am grateful for the experience while I may not have liked the experience itself. Your children don't have to like their mistakes and failures, but if they can change their mindset and look at it as something to learn from and an opportunity, and then to be grateful for that opportunity, changes everything. It changes everything. So those are basically the 2 tips. I've talked a little longer than usual, but I just think it's so important, and it really truly does affect, as it did for the scientists, it can affect their life. If they're not afraid to take risks, or as you know, in the Magic School Bus, Miss Frizzle used to say, take chances, get messy, make mistakes, whatever it was. My kids loved that because they said, Mommy, that's what you always say. And it's true. And we have to remember as parents, because so many, whether it's coaches or teachers or friends or whatever out there, everybody's, you know, making them feel badly when they make mistakes or have a failure, whether it's in school or sports. But we have to, you know, explain this to them. It's our job as parents to teach this to them and to remember ourselves. And a great way is to model it. The next time you make a mistake, I did this all the time, and my kids love catching me making mistakes. Point out your mistake and say, oops, I made a mistake. And, you know, whatever, apologize if you need to, make amends, learn from it, model it. What did I learn from this? Okay, maybe I could be more patient next time, whatever it may be. So these are great lessons. They will truly help your children not only now be happier and less stressed, but for an entire lifetime. It will help them reach their potential. They won't be afraid to follow their dreams because they're afraid to fail. They won't be afraid to follow their passions in life because they're afraid they might make a mistake. That is a life-changing gift you can give your children with these 2 simple, quick tips that you can just do on a daily basis or whenever you remember to. So that's it. As always, thank you so much for being here. And in the comments below, I would love to hear what you think of the 2 strategies for embracing mistakes and failures. And come back as always and let us know the first time you do this with your children or after a little while how it's going and any tips, tools, strategies, and ideas you want to share with regard to this tip. And I just want you to leave you with this, as always. Remember, we can have happier, more grateful children. We can be happier, more grateful ourselves, and we can and we are changing the world one child and one family at a time. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to hear how you put this tip into action, and I will see you next time.